We're going to do reading comprehension. We're going to focus on passages from across the place, starting with CAT 2019 reading comprehension passages, which are already there out on the internet. So these are passages that were seen in CAT 2019. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to read this passage, not exactly read this passage, but go through this passage. I've already read this one. So I would want you guys who are following this to hit a pause, read the passage. The link is given right in the description. There is not much value in going through this video if you have not read the passage for yourself. How are we going to discuss it? We're going to break it into two parts. One is going to be to just go through this passage, make sense of it, see how it can sit in your mind. And then we'll go on to the questions and see how we can answer that. And there are going to be two parts to this. One is to read through this passage or skim through this passage and talk about the important aspects or something that jumps out of the passage. And then go to each question and see how the passage, which part of the passage can be useful for answering which specific question. It's a wonderful passage, very tough passage. So I'm going to break our learning part into two. One is to go through and discuss this passage, take some time just making sense of it, then answer the questions that follow. Once again, if you have not read this passage, I would say hit pause, either look at this screen and read the passage, or click on the description below, click to see this particular passage in that PDF or that link, go through that and then come back to this video. Wonderful. I want to jump in and do the shooting part. Contemporary internet shopping conjures a perfect storm of choice anxiety. Research has consistently held that people who are presented with few options make better, easier decisions than those presented with many. And so this whole first paragraph is about choice anxiety. And he's saying how to figure out consumers has become an industry unto itself. Endless sea of choice become a cottage industry unto itself. Many brands now use words such as curation, differentiation, and discovery. I found this very funny because we've just launched a link which is Bharat's curated reading list. That is meaningful. Do check that out. Right? But the key thing here is the words and phrases has become a cottage industry unto itself. That's a starting point. What I would call a mild pejorative tone. What do you mean by that? Marketing buzzwords unto itself. They're both suggesting that, look, these guys have cooked up some terminology, fancy jargon, some terms. They are not all that is shaped up to be. The moment you read the first paragraph, you can get a sense that these newfangled guys who specialize on curation and discovery, they don't add up to much. They've come up with a new fancy set of things. Instead of simplifying, they're going to add to the vocabulary, is what he's saying. Marketing buzzwords. Anybody who wants to refer to a term as meaningful is not going to use the word buzzword. The word buzzword is the exact opposite of buzzword. Cottage industry unto itself has become unwieldy. And so the author is not a fan of these new industry participants. Well, nice thing. Companies find that shoppers through the data goldmine of digital advertising, which can catalog people by gender, blah, 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 blah. And so data goldmine of digital advertising, basically, and they're ripped to shreds. This is a complaint we've seen so many times. Author is again conveying mildly with additional adjective that he's not a fan of this. Americans have lost the ability to do. So again, see this retail machine, whether it's an algorithm, an influencer, or some snazzy ad tech. Snazzy ad tech. Again, look, they're adding a fancy words, they're adding a few shebang and calling it something that is fantastic. All they want to do is follow you on the internet. Right? Choice fatigue is one reason. Now he talks about choice fatigue in this bunch. Right? Because of this, people go around following other people who have made choices. These other people present them an aspirational worldview. And that's wonderful. He uses the phrase here, I'm looking for it. So there's completely who present an aspirational worldview. The people on Instagram and social media who subtly endorse product and recommend. They're recommending it not as saying this is great. They're recommending it by saying, hey, look at me. I'm so cool. And I use this shampoo. And so this worldview is being bought into. So, or this is instead of this worldview of Americans having choice fatigue is seen by a bunch of companies who have now positioned themselves as saying, look, choice fatigue is there, choice fatigue is rampant. You can follow around 20 somethings and buy into their worldview, or I'll tell you what, You know what you're doing. We know what we are doing. We will give you not 70 choices, but 3 choices. You want toothbrushes? It's enough to pick from 3. You want mattresses? I will give you the 2 best. You want somebody to you want to get windows paneled for your place? We'll give you the 3 best combos. So we'll do the research. We'll sift through reams of this data and we'll narrow everything, and we are selling only this. What does this do? This combats choice anxiety. And so the bunch of startups, Casper, Glossier, Away, who are focusing on making a virtue out of a narrow range. Fine. So, but then is it really working out? Fine. This is the company. This particular part is very crucial. Companies that sell them, along with those that attempt to massage the larger stuff economy into something navigable, are still working within a consumer market that's broken in a bunch of systemic ways. He says, look, the market is broken. These guys aim or appeal to the sense that choice anxiety is there and is rampant. They are purporting to solve that problem. But I'll tell you what, the problem of the market being broken still exists. They can do zilch about it. And so the author is explaining what these guys do, but he's not sure that they are solving the more important problem. What is the more important problem? The presence of so much stuff in America might be more valuable if it were more evenly distributed. A rabid American would say, this is socialist talk. Fine. But we are not rabid Americans. So it's probably something meaningful sitting there. So he says the overall value would be good if the choice or the fact that there are many varieties, the fact that the lower priced variants were sold to people who were poorer. But this is not happening. As options have expanded for people with disposable income, opportunity to buy even basic things has contracted for America's lower classes. What he's saying is the guys who are rich are having so much choice that suffering from choice fatigue. There are these 4 new guys who are reducing choice fatigue and offering a new proposition. A new proposition that handles choice anxiety could be brilliant if it handled choice anxiety and helped everyone buy some product. They're reducing choice anxiety, adding a premium, and selling again to the set of people who are anyway rich enough to buy a lot with their disposable income. And so, for startups that promise accessible simplicity, this very structure still might push them towards overwhelming variety. Brilliant. This part is brilliant. So, I am saying I combat choice anxiety. So, I want to remove this. But hey, I'm not in the business of removing choice anxiety for the bottom 80%, making their life simple, delivering nice low price products to them. Where do I make my money? I make a virtue out of removing choice anxiety, position it as a fabulous service, and then offer a set of services come products to a select few who are rich. Now, by my very nature, I'm pandering to a bunch of people who have disposable income by claiming to limit their choice. Right? And accessible simplicity is my pitch. But imagine this, somebody sells accessible simplicity to very rich people. They love it. They love it for 3 quarters. They love it for 2 quarters. Then they want slightly something new. So most of these companies have to go towards variety. That's the author's claim. Most of these companies are based on hundreds of millions of dollars of venture capital. The investors want a steep growth rate. You can't sell one great mattress or one great sneaker. Therefore, what do? You expand your product range. Therefore, what's the problem? You're presenting choice to customers. What is the problem you wanted to solve? Choice anxiety. God save the world. That's the author's entire spiel. And so Casper has expanded into bedroom furniture and bed linens. Glossier, he positioned himself as a no makeup, but now recently launched a glittering color cosmetics range. Imagine that. The irony in this passage is brilliant. The fact that there are a bunch of companies whose reason to exist was to combat choice anxiety have now come to existence on that. They've made a virtue out of it. Unfortunately, they made a virtue out of removing choice anxiety to the people who have affordability, who therefore can buy more and with more variety. They're well heavily invested. So they are selling a narrow choice set of choices to a target audience for whom choice anxiety is a problem, but variety is a pull. So they're inevitably going to have to deliver variety. So choice anxiety limits products, and then market demand increases variety. We're back to square zero. And there may be no way to opt out of stuff by buying into the right thing. So if you finally say you're a customer, oh my God, thank God I have Casper and Glossier and Away. From now on, whatever I need, I just go to these guys. They'll offer me the best 2 things and I'm good. The next time you click on that, they're not offering you 2 things, they're offering you 23 things because that's what their venture capitalists have demanded. It's a wonderful passage. What are the things that you can learn about the author? He's starting this whole thing, I won't say cynically, but with that whole tongue-in-cheek thing. And he's taking us through the idea of curation, the idea of Instagram, the idea of simplifying, idea of providing simplification as a virtue, and then talks about the contradiction and then says, hey, these guys are selling simplification as a virtue. Tell you what, they can't succeed. As long as they're after growth rates, they'll have to chase variety. So the guy who wants to simplify is the guy now providing variety. God save the world. That's his whole pitch. He is, what can we infer about it? Author is not amused by the curation industry. Author is not amused by the aspirational worldview provided by the youngsters, perpetually vacationing 20-somethings. It's not something you would say about an Instagrammer who you're thrilled with. It's like tongue-in-cheek. Dude, you keep selling something and you keep making a virtue out of it. I don't think I rate you. It's just tongue-in-cheek. So he's had a dig at the curation and Instagram industry. Then he comes to the simplifying industry and then says, oh, finally, they can't simplify either. On the way, he lands a blow on capitalism. All creators tend to focus their energy on those who have plenty anyway. So the well-endowed and the happy and the rich are the ones who are being presented not just choice, but the route to reduced choice. So they are paying a premium for simplification, which in due course of time is going to result again in expanded choice. So he doesn't like this curation industry, the Instagram era. He does not like this stated claim of simplifying life. He does not think American consumer model is fair or good. He doesn't think anything goes down to the poor. He only thinks the rich are being sold into and more is being sold into the rich. And so you need to pick up the ability to pick up those words, the tone. If it says marketing buzzwords, that means, okay, I don't think this is a big deal. He just created a word. Cottage industry unto itself, a useless industry peddling itself. Algorithm, influencer, snazzy ad tech. Snazzy ad tech is a buzzword, the way the author defines it. So he's landing a blow. Throughout, he's suggesting that he's not a fan of each of these things by the wonderful use of words. And that picking up of the tone from the way words are used is going to be very useful, very crucial. Right? Let's go to the questions. Which of the following hypothetical statements would add the least depth to the author's prediction of the fate of startups? Least depth. Least depth, I'm going to replace that by saying contradict. Author is predicting that these new Caspers of the world, sorry, my handwriting is atrocious. Caspers of the world are going to become the mattress kings of the world. There is no virtue. They start off by claiming simplicity, but eventually they are going to become mainstream. Because of the pressures of the venture capitalists who poured funds into them. Your initial pitch is, oh, I'll simplify life for you. Without you realize, oh, I've simplified life for you, but tell you what, I'm offering you A, B, C, D as well. Why don't you try that also? So you're offering choice. So the target audience demands choice. And that will be not the end of this as an organization, but end of the original pitch. They might survive, create variety and sell more into. The guys who sell more nonsense are the ones who are most successful commercially. You look around. The most successful companies are the ones that have managed to consistently sell crap that you don't need. Fine, I'm not landing a blow on their commercial proposition, but the author is saying their initial pitch of simplicity will be lost. Right? Let's look at this. An exponential surge in their sales enables startups to meet their desired profit goals without expanding their profit catalog. Oh my God, this is very juicy. So if the companies achieve their objective without expanding their product catalog, then that's brilliant. That's precisely what the author is saying cannot happen. Least depth to the author's prediction. There's not even depth. This is exact opposite of what the author is predicting. He is saying the Caspers of the world will come in. They'll do something. They'll claim to simplify. And before you know it, they are the original incumbents anyway. So this case will prove that narrowing choice can drive growth, in which case Casper won't expand. And so this looks very juicy. Let's look at others as well. With the motive of promoting certain rival companies, the government decides to double the tax rates for these startups. This is government intervention. They're reducing this. We don't know what the rival companies are. This is completely tangential to what we are discussing. It won't add, it won't contradict the author's prediction. It won't support it. Author is not talking about competition and government intervention. With Casper and Glossier venturing into new product ranges, their regular customers start losing trust in the companies and their products. This could happen. This could happen. This is not something that the author is directly suggesting. So it's not something that lands. It's not his prediction. But he's saying that they are going to become mainstream, in which case the trust buffer they have could go away. But this is not contradicting the author. This is not supporting what he's predicting. It's not contradicting. Startups with few product exceptions are no exception to the American consumer market that is deeply divided along class lines. This is exactly what the author is saying. He's saying the market is broken. Author is saying this. The market is broken. The rich get more range. The poor are not really being catered to. And just because these startups come with newer variants, they are not solving that problem. This is his contention. So this will have support it. We want something that will contradict it or provide the least step. Choice A is our answer. So if these startups are successful because of their narrow range, then that goes completely against what the author is saying. Which one of the following best sums up the overall purpose of the examples of Casper and Glossier in the passage? What will it be? Think about it. He's introduced this, saying choice fatigue is real. So these guys look to combat it. They'll combat it, and then ironically, they'll have to expand their product range. Then what will happen? They'll become mainstream. So this is what he's looking to say. Let's see whether any of these statements will support that. They're increasing the purchasing power of poor Americans. No, they're not catering to poor Americans. Poor Americans don't have the money to buy. They're not going to pay a premium to limit their choice. There are exceptions to a dominant trend in consumer markets. No, dominant trend in consumer market that the author is railing against is the idea that more and more is given to people who are already well off, who are already rich, and less is actually being sold with a compelling proposition to the poor. And these guys are no exception. They're facilitating a uniform distribution of commodities in the market. No, they're selling to the rich, is what the author is saying. They may transform into what they were exceptions to. They will become mainstream. Easy answer. I would have used the word mainstream, but they may transform into what they were exceptions to. Is exactly what mainstream is. So easy choice D. A new food brand plans to launch a series of products in the American market. Which of the following product plans is most likely to be supported? Most likely to be supported by the author. Oh, this is nice. Products and price point. What are we looking for? Author says the American market is broken. Poor are not being delivered to. The rich are being overserviced. So we should have a market that delivers to the poorer, or we want a choice that has a lower price range. But what has the author accepted? He is saying there is choice fatigue for everybody. So you want a lower price range, not just that. He wants a smaller product range. He doesn't believe that choice in and of itself is a big deal. So he says the customers will not get fatigued if fewer choices are provided. Choice has become overwhelming. And the poor are being butchered because there's not enough products are not being delivered to that. So $10 to 25, $10 to 25. I don't want this. I want 5 to 10, 5 to 10. 10 products, 25 products. I don't want this. I like fewer products at a lower price range. That is what the author will support. All of the following, if true, would weaken the author's claims except. So this statement would weaken. This statement would weaken. This statement would weaken. This one would not weaken. I'm just saying one of these would not weaken. Or we are looking to find one statement that strengthens the author's claim. Or close to strengthening. I'm rephrasing this. The choice is likely to be the exact opposite. Or does not even weaken. So I'm looking for a statement that is favorable to the author. And so all of the following would weaken except this. There's one thing that won't weaken. So I'm going to say which one is most favorable to the author's claim. Which one supports the author's claim most? Right? Product options increased market competition, bringing down the price of commodities, which in turn increased purchasing power of the poor. And so the increased market competition, bringing down the prices, which in turn increased the purchasing power of the poor. The author is claiming eventually this will become more of the same. Right? So he's contending that the mainstream will win, or the stated exceptions will become the mainstream. He's saying the market is broken, and this increased choice has not resulted in any increase in purchasing power. This is not our answer choice. This is saying options increase, choice increase, the poor get better. The author is saying the choice increased is not doing anything to the poor. So this does not support what the author is saying. The annual sales growth of companies with fewer product options were higher than that of companies which curated their products for target consumers. Fewer product options than that of companies which curated their products. So this is your the guys who are saying I will curate and select for a few select audience. This is I have only fewer options, and their growth rate is higher. So effectively, curation does not add much. It is reducing what I am. Deliver to the broader market, but with a fewer range. Your growth rate could be higher than continuously delivering a narrower range for each customer base. And so slicing and dicing customer base does not give anything. So this is somewhat okay. You still don't like this. This is not a compellingly good choice. This is not directly supporting, but it's okay. So he's basically saying reduce the options. There's no point curating. You just have fewer options, but you don't necessarily spend so much time in finding the most curated, selected version and making a virtue out of reducing choice anxiety. There's no value in that. So, but have fewer choices. Therefore, that itself is good enough. So that is somewhat okay, but not. I wouldn't jump at this choice. At least it is not weakening. I don't know if it strengthens. So I'll see the other two choices as well. The annual sale of companies that hired lifestyle influencers on Instagram for marketing their product were 40% less than those that did not. So Instagram that hired lifestyle influencers on Instagram were 40% less than those that did not. So Instagram does not work. Can we say that? Annual sales that hired lifestyle influencers were 40% less than those that did not. So the lifestyle, the influencer Instagram does not work. The influencer gig does not work. That's what this is saying. The author does not make a big claim one way or the other about whether the influencers thing works or not. He's making some sarcastic comments. 20-something that are perpetually vacationing are making a virtue out of this aspirational value. He's saying he's sarcastic about it, but he does not really stick his head out and say, does this work or does not work? So this again, we don't have anything about the author's view on whether Instagram works or not. If author has said Instagram does not work, this will be reinforced, but he's not saying that explicitly. So this also will have to hold on, but I'm not a big fan. The empowerment felt by purchasers in buying a commodity were directly proportional to the number of options they could choose from. Or choice is good. This is not what the author is saying. The author is saying choice fatigue is true and real. So this is out. So we're in between these two. A and D do not strengthen or support. They do weaken what the author is saying. Between B and C, I would go with B, where it says fewer product options is good, but curation does not add anything. So that is similar to what the author is saying. Author is saying these guys are running a gig. Just because they're claiming to curate, they're not adding much. So this does not weaken what the author's got to say. Based on the passage, all of the following can be inferred about consumer behavior except too many options have made it difficult for consumers to trust product. True. Choice fatigue is real. Consumers are susceptible to marketing images that see on social media. True. You're saying Instagram is a thing. Social media is a thing. Influencers are a thing. They're presenting an aspirational worldview. All of those are good. Having too many product options can be overwhelming for consumers. True. Consumers tend to prefer products by startups over those by established companies. This is not mentioned. Referring to Casper and Glossier as venture capitalists funded. But we don't even know whether they are wildly successful. We don't have a reference to a discussion on startup versus established companies. That is not that clear. When this one is inferred, A and C can be easily eliminated. In between B and D, B is very inferable. The Instagrammers are there, influencers are there. The perpetually vacationing 20-somethings and moms who are doing this, they all exist. Companies are flocking to them for a reason. So customers are susceptible. Whereas that at least can be inferred. Whereas this, talking about startups and established companies, that whole line of thought is not sitting there. It's talking about choice, narrowing of choice, expansion of choice, but not startups and established companies.